Well, welcome back to 7 Day Worship, episode 18. That's kind of nuts to say. We're almost at 20 episodes in. That's kind of nuts. Really exciting. We're today going to be talking about Sabbath. My name is Casey Klosek. This is my wife, Autumn. And with us here today is Chris, as almost always.
Hey.
And today we're going to be having a roundtable discussion about Sabbath, Shabbat, and we're going to be getting into what the Bible has to say about it from Genesis all the way to Jesus, and how it's affected our lives, and what the Bible and what Jesus modeling really means to set us free with some powerful things that come when we think of Sabbath and we actually do as the Bible commands. And so I'm really excited to get into that. But as we get started here, I think I just want to start out by asking a simple question to Chris, to Autumn, and then I'll answer it, of what has Sabbath been for you in the past? How did you come to know that term, or how did you see it modeled when you were younger? Did you see it modeled, and how has it come to be something that you observe today?
All right. I grew up in the Nazarene church, and the whole thing was in my memory. It was a very good upbringing, very thankful for it. But when I think back and ponder it, it was very rules-based. Do what I say, not what I do. Very, lots of church stuff. 2 services in the morning, or a service and Sunday school, and choir practice at 4:30 and a service at 6:30, Tuesday night Bible study, Wednesday night church youth group. And so in the nutshell, when you said remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, it meant never miss a church service. Is kind of like how I grew up with it. Or if you boil it down, it would say that's why we go to church on Sunday, because of Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good setup?
Yeah.
Was your experience different?
Mine, honestly, I don't remember growing up us ever talking about Sabbath. We went to church on Sunday.
It was the 10 Commandment. We didn't talk about it. It was one of the 10 Commandments.
And you had to have it memorized. So my dad was a truck driver, and he was gone all the time except for the weekend. So we did go to church on Sunday, but Saturday there was no Sabbath. It was what can I get done that I couldn't get done in the week. And so I had no real understanding of what true Sabbath was. And so, yeah, we just didn't observe it.
Yeah, and I'm definitely the same as both of you. I mean, it was just the thing that you do is Sunday. There was just nothing else about it. My dad worked tirelessly. He did stop every Sunday to make sure that happened, but I think it was more of a works-based. You got to do this thing because you're supposed to be at church. It was more of a don't forsake the fellowship of believers than it was stop. And I think that was the difference that I grew up with, of don't forsake the fellowship. That was more important than saying stop and rest. And so that was kind of my experience with it. What is it for you, Chris? Like, how did that, I know that this has changed for you of what Sabbath means, but when did that turn first happen for you?
Yeah, I'll recap too. When you were talking, I was thinking of my grandfathers. Both my grandfathers are Wesleyan pastors, and they took Sabbath so seriously that they didn't buy anything on Sundays.
Oh,
And
wow.
we didn't go. There was no, getting ice cream or going out to lunch or dinner or restaurants, on Sundays. Okay, how's it changed? I'm getting a lot of chirping. Is that me?
I don't
know. So now it's, I guess, a better understanding of at least its roots and how I observe it today, where we're talking about in Old Testament, God created the world and rested on the seventh day. And so now we actually are in a Shabbat group on Friday nights where we're having a dinner, and it's a day of rest, and so I try to practice it, and I actually try to practice it on Saturday. Um, and one of the things that happened, or the way I'd experience it, would be, okay, if you take basically John 14, 15, 16, I'm the vine, you on the branches, abide. Abide in me. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And so the concept that the Lord established with his people in Old Testament, like, you will have a day of rest, of no work. And then the concept of even the land having a rest every 7 years, and kind of like there's this principle and this system, sounds right, the calendar, like God's appointed times, like knowing what's best. If God had to rest after creating the world, what does that tell us about us? And I don't think God had to rest, because then you would say God gets tired. I don't think you can say that, but there was something he was setting in motion about cycles and seasons and a weekly rhythm. And so being beneficial to actually rest from your work and take a break, so relevant in today's hustle culture now, and it's healthy. Um, so once I started activating that understanding, and this happened probably, it was about 2018, where I was really pondering this and thinking about it, and it came from John 14, 15, 16. Abide, rest in me, take my yoke upon you. Yoke is easy, burden is light. The basic concept: if you're trying in church and trying in this faith, and you're feeling like you're striving and stressed out, then we're not doing it right. And where our refreshment comes from the Lord, the fountain of living water. And so being intentional about rest and not work on a certain day. And for me, I am involved in the church. So a lot of that, I'm either preaching or I'm playing drums, and we know that's not restful. And so that just the concept of taking an intentional break, and how this really hit home for me actually last fall. Every we live on this acreage, 5 acres, and there's a lot of seasonal tree pruning and taking care of the yard, and so in fall there's cutting trees, doing stuff, and I'm up on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm up on this apple ladder up in the tree, and I'm like, it was hot. It was probably one of those great late August, early September days, and I'm sweating, and I'm got the pole saw, and then my arms are hurting, and I'm like, "Look, I gotta take a break. I gotta take a rest." And I'm standing up on the ladder, just kind of chilling out, and I'm like, I just felt a prompting from the Lord, like, "Chris, what are you doing?" Because I'm tired. I'm making myself take a break, but then I'm gonna go back and work, and I'm like, well, God, I have to get I have to get this work done before it rains next week. And I was so convicted, like, you just said it out of your mouth. I have to work. And I'm like, oh, I'm just sitting there and like, I said, I think I need to stop working. And got down from the ladder and put my tools away, and I just said, okay, I'm going to chill out, because some people, one man's work is another's leisure, right? So it's theoretical that limbing the trees could actually be restful. And I have done mild clipping, deadheading, rhododendrons. When the flowers die, it's called deadheading them, and you gotta take them off. And I find that is one of the most enjoyable, relaxing, and it's not hard work. It's not, but like when I'm up there sweating, it's like it can be variable, right? Different, like what, if you're coaching your kid's soccer game, for some that could be work. For another, that could be like the best. It's family day. Can you go to your kid's soccer game on Sabbath or not? So it's less. So even now, it's like an intentional. This is what I'm choosing to lay down something I feel like I have to do. That's work. That's a chore, in order to honor and let the Lord speak to me, or just take a time out and be with my family. And so that's how I'm thinking about it now. But I do intentionally try to do it on Saturday, on the historical Sabbath, so historical Shabbat, and I would say I enjoy it. I like it.
What makes it special doing it on a Friday to Saturday versus Sunday?
I would probably say because one of the conversations pieces is it could be any day of the week, or it could be any time, and I think there's something about coming into alignment with history and biblical history that for me, and like I said, Sunday for me is not restful generally. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. What? Hey, Mallory, just want to say hey to you as you're coming in.
Hey, Mallerie.
Can you hear us okay? We can't see you.
Oh, I know you can see. I'm sorry. I'm driving.
Oh, well,
I figured I could have this on while I drive, and it's connected to the car. So
that sounds good. Well, you can just listen for now. Let's make sure you get home safe, and then we can
no,
get you on when you feel good. But Autumn's
yeah,
here.
no.
Got Chris Rosentrater here with us. Mallory is my sister, Chris. So Mallory, meet Chris. Say hey.
Hey, what's up, Mallerie?
Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. It's good to see you, Autumn.
Hi.
We're just talking right now about Sabbath, and where we were, where we thought of Sabbath, and what kind of changed that, if it's changed, and all of that for now. And so Chris was kind of giving us some backstory on his experience with that. I was about to let Autumn kind of share any moments she's had as well. Was there a moment where it just kind of shifted and clicked in? Here's what Sabbath really is, not necessarily a legalistic thing, but it is rest. And so, Autumn, what was that like for you?
Oh, I don't feel like I've come to a real moment of that at this point because it seems I would like to, and I need to get better at that. But I feel like we're in a season right now where life's just really crazy. And I notice either I avoid Sabbath because of a scarcity mindset of I have to get this stuff done or nobody else is going to, or just being an autopilot. But I think that's part of my personality type, too, is just kind of just, we like to work. So, yeah. So, but there have been seasons, though, where I think I've really observed the Sabbath and found a lot of rest in it. Kind of took a break from that striving, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something I need to get better at, and I know you struggle with it really bad too, Casey. So
Yeah, rest it's an interesting thing. And I remember some pastors, or this one pastor, Gary Reiber, when we were doing some work in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at a church plant, he was asked about Sabbath because one of our younger guys who was just graduating from youth group and starting to help out on staff with the youth. He was asking the question about Sabbath and what is that, and Gary was just trying to explain to him, well, it's actually something that you get to carry with you all the time. And so because Jesus is rest, right? You come to him to find rest. And so you can do it whenever. You can just rest in the moment and come to him, when you're weary and heavy laden, and he's going to give you rest. And he's completely right about that. But it really kind of changed it changed my view in a good way, I would say, at the moment, from where it was legalistic to saying, oh, I can have rest at any moment in time. But then it needed to evolve again, I would say, because of protection for not just the day itself, but for my family. Because like you were talking about, Chris, with ministry stuff, Sunday is not a day of rest. And I remember that we had this one staffer come in to a church that we were at later and talking about how Sunday was rest when you're working. I was like, it's just not, I'm sorry, but you pay us to work on Sunday. That's how that works. And so we are on Sunday. Yes, we can find enjoyment with what we're doing, and yes, there is rest in that in some way, shape, or form. But my family's not together. We're not observing any kind of community together in that time. We're not doing any kind of hospitality. We're not doing any kind of slowing down and stopping. We are running on Sunday, and it's multiple services. There's no time. So no.
And I think even just because that was a more established church, but then the other side of it too is when we were part of a church plant, you wore many hats, and so when you were there, you were pouring out constantly. And yes, you could find joy in doing those things because you're serving God, but at the same time, there just wasn't any rest, compared to what other people would experience when they're actually taking Sabbath. So,
So I would say it was really confusing. I got the concept of stop. And I think in Washington, it was the most helpful because in Washington, we started this habit where it was, we're going to stop and we're actually going to go do something either as a family on a day that like go into the mountains, or we're going to go take a hike, or we're going to do something that gives life that we would enjoy. And we're just going to spend time either with each other, with God, but we're going to set it apart from the rest of the week was the idea. And so we started finally kind of getting that concept through. But yeah, it's something to fight for. There's a lot of power in it, but it's something I think in different seasons you have the challenge of saying I'm going to start here, and I'll get into that in a little bit because it's the way I think you need to treat Sabbath. It's the starting point for the rest of the week, not the leftovers that are at the end of it. And I think that's same with money, same with whatever else. God gets the first fruits for a reason. And I think it's to set everything else up and to set it apart. So, yeah, that's kind of our spiel on that, where we're at, I guess. But, yeah. What I'd like to do is kind of just jump in and share a couple of things. So I'd like to jump into first this, which would be the word itself. So Bible Project does a really good word study on Shabbat. So anybody who is listening to this or is looking for a resource that does a really good job explaining maybe some complex things in the Bible Project is a really good resource, and that's where I kind of found some of this. And so I'm going to read it. So let me get my glasses. It's a little tiny for me here. There we go. All right, Shabbat. Shabbat means literally to cease or to stop, but it also means to delight. And I think that's something that's really fascinating in the way that it's pushed forward. And so the root verb of that is Shabbat itself. And think of it like a rhythm that is something that is setting things apart in our lives. So consider this Sabbath day to keep it holy. What does holy mean? Holy means to set it apart. And so if there's a sacred rhythm that we're supposed to be treating this as, it is sacred because we are setting it apart from other things. And so what is our time management? What are our days look like? Well, if we start by setting one aside and saying, God, this is yours, I'm going to cease my busyness. I'm going to cease the toiling that I do on this earth because of the curse, which is going to have me work hard on the ground to produce something as a man. I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to say, God, I am no longer a slave to that. I am set free through Christ to be able to rest in him and consider the rest of my days an overflow from that outpouring that happens on Sabbath. And so a whole day to do that's really, really interesting. And so that's where we kind of started with it. But as we kind of get into this word, have you guys taken a look at this before? Chris, Mallorie, have you looked at Shabbat? What have you guys seen in this? Am I missing anything here?
I mean, we've kind of talked about Shabbat, and like that's something that we've been kind of discussing more recently as Jason and I are kind of going through stuff and figuring out things ourselves. I am so sorry if there's a lot of background noise in the car.
No, you're good.
But no, for us, we had gone through this, and we've been going through the Bible Project for different things as well. And Jason, as he's been coming to Christ, has been I don't know, like the biggest siphon for like knowledge and trying to discover as much as he can. And so he's been going back through like Greek and Latin and all of the Hebrew to figure out like what the words actually stemmed from and everything like that. And so set apart is kind of where we had kind of landed on. And we know that Sundays, I serve at the church and he does different things at the church. So we've kind of taken a different day as a Sabbath. And so what we'll do on those days is we'll kind of take that day and like you said, we'll either go for a hike, or for us in the middle of the summer, since it's 115 degrees, we will go for a drive up to Flagstaff, and it'll be absolutely beautiful. And like we'll take the dogs and we'll spend the day listening to podcasts or different Bible readings, because we're setting ourselves apart from the world and from the work and from all of that stuff, and instead replacing it and immersing ourselves in biblical truths and in the scripture and everything like that. So we have different, for relaxing and fun, Jason likes to listen to different sermon series. So we'll randomly turn on a sermon series and listen through like the book of James. I think one time we did on our way up to Flagstaff and on the way back, and that was our Sabbath, was just spending the day immersed in God but set apart from doing all of the work and everything else.
That's really
That's
cool.
good.
Yeah, that's really cool. What about you, Chris? Has this word come up?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's important. Like if we believe God, okay, we are His children. He calls us sons and daughters. We're like this. This faith is a generational covenant, family affair, and it's about relational. And I think if He loves His children, we're his. If we're His sons and daughters, that means I'm a son of the King, which means I would be a prince, which means I have an inheritance, which means what's His is mine. Like he desires favor and blessing on His children. And so how He talks to us, like we talk to our kids, how we talk to them would communicate, I know what's best for you. Trust me. This is a good idea. I have boundaries for you. These are your boundaries. You follow my boundaries, you will have favor. And so the overarching thought is He also modeled it, created the world, then modeled rest. He says, I believe in this so much, I'm going to do it so it shows you it can be done. Believe me, I'm God. I'm busy. I have a lot to manage. I mean, I'm counting hairs on every human's head in the world. Like, I mean, that's going to take a while. There's some new stars being born tonight that I got to go and name. We're running out, running out of names. Like I got a lot going on. The four living creatures, they need my attention over there. And so like he's modeling it. Like, do you even know how busy I am? He's not saying that, but like if anyone had an excuse to get away, it would be the Lord. And yet he's putting it, he's saying this is how you find favor for your body, for your mind, for your family. It's tied to the dinner around your family, and any sojourner that's with you, that was like you're around a table, you're sharing a meal, even when you're in the desert. That's going to be a blessing to your family. Imagine this. I have a friend, I talk about this. Imagine, like, I don't know if Donald Trump would do this by executive order. Maybe we don't go to politics, but just imagine this. What would happen in the United States if every family, starting today, every family in the entire United States is going to sit down as a family together at least once a week and have a dinner? Like it would have cultural change. Like if there was a thing, if you're a dad, if you're a father, if you're a single mom, even, so let's say, or a single, like if you had kid, and let's say you're not married, just say everyone in the United States was having dinner with their family or who they called family at least once a week from now until forever. It would change the dynamic of the United States just from the family. I'm not even talking like Old Testament faith, Jesus, just the concept of a safe place, a family gathering, your people, it's a priority. And I think with Sabbath, Shabbat, like it's like this thing. It's like it's every 7 days. You take a break from the rest. You be with your family, and then the other component you set aside, like Mallerie's talking about. It's a time to develop your relationship with the Lord. It's a time to be with Him, dwell. It's your dwell and delight piece. And I just think there's so many things from physical health. I think it's also related to fasting and rhythms of fasting, fasting from work, um, um, family health, physical health, being productive in your work. If you know you have a day where that's set aside for renewal and rest, and knowing the King of the universe. I mean, it's just so I think integral to our health, and we ignore it to our peril.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Yeah, that's really cool, and I think going into the idea of setting apart that first day, I got this little image that I made for this, but I've always talked about it like tithe, same kind of concept. And it's not tithing in the sense of like the tenth, right? Because there's a tenth is literally what tithe is. It's a tenth of your income is what that usually was. But the purpose of it was to consecrate or to make sure that the rest of the 9 out of 10 was considered holy because you took the first fruits and gave it to God, setting it apart. And so the whole point of tithing in the financial aspect is saying, I'm going to take the first fruits, I'm going to give those to God, and I'm going to offer them to Him as a sacrifice here. They are His, and that's going to signal to me that the rest of what I have is also from Him and it belongs to Him. And so it's starting the pattern out and starting your financial rhythm out in a sense of this belongs to Him, everything else belongs to Him. And that's why I'm setting it apart as an offering to Him at the very beginning, to say thank you, and then also to declare this is what I'm going to do with the rest of it. It is yours. And so I think the same thing when it comes to a tithe of time is the way that I've talked about this all the time. So it would be the first fruits of what I'm doing. That could be, and we can really get into some weird pathways when it comes to Sabbath because of Jesus breaking the veil and making it to where we can always find rest in Him and all that. But just for the sake of the rhythm that He set up in creation, with on the seventh day He rested, we can simply say something very easy, like the first day, which would Friday to Saturday be what that was signifying in ancient times there, was going to be dedicated to Him, so that the remainder of that week was also pointing towards Him. And so it was you Sabbath, and then you have all the other days that are consecrated of that stopping moment. They're consecrated. They're put there because of that time that you stopped, and it affects everything afterwards. Like you were saying, you have that time to look forward to rest. You also know that out of that rest, you're going to be rejuvenated and be able to accomplish that work really well. And so there's kind of a starting and an ending point with it that's really beautiful. And so there's different currency is the way that I would put it. You have your time that's really valuable. You have your resources that are really valuable. They should all be in that same type of thought process, I think, where it's
Yeah, I love that.
reality.
It's like, is it Psalm 50? The Lord owns the cattle on 1,000 hills.
Mm-hmm.
And then you connect that thought to one day is as 1,000, or better is one day, is a Psalm 84. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. And I think it's important as a practicality for those working and well, anyone, not only like a Sabbath once a day, but having a Sabbath not a Sabbath once a week, a Sabbath portion once a day, or like what is the time of the day that is also, rejuvenating, and better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. How many seconds is a 1,000th in a day? It's roughly 90 seconds. If you take that concept, better is one day in your presence, being touched, holy, intimate, like electric, like closeness, intimacy with the Lord and his presence is better than 1,000. It's like 1,000 exponential. Anything you could do, like if you could do one thing, do this for 90. Like this isn't like literal. It's like a concept. Imagine that. He's saying better would be 90 seconds with me in a day in pure intimacy and union and holiness than anything else you could do all day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and the Sabbath is 1 in 7. Better is one day in your courts than, like it's just like 1 in 7 would be. I think the Lord's concept of time and resource importance is different than mine. Like it's just such a mind blender, and he's like, and then it's not like a rule, like we grew up in the church, like it's a rule, you don't skip church, and it's like it's so much more than that. He's saying, no, just trust me in this, like test me in this, like he says, test me in the giving, right? Test me in the tithing and see if I do not pour out. Test me in the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just see what happens if you let go of something, time that you're holding on to so much. Just see what happens. See what I do in your family. See what I do in your job. See what I do in your productivity and favor and things you're putting your hand to. Oh man, it's just so. Autumn, you said it. It's the what'd you say about the mindset? Scarcity. What's opposite of scarcity mindset?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Something I think is interesting, just looking, because Casey created this whole printout, but seeing it compared to like a tithe, which I know it's different, but just like wrapping my mind around that, it's funny because I'll have like an idol of control, like if I don't get this done, it's not going to get done. But it's funny because just like our money, it's God's anyway, so is our time, right? Like we're limited here on this earth. He knows when we're going to leave. And it's like, okay, like why am I hanging on to my time as if nothing will get done? It's so crazy to me because it's just another idol of control that gets revealed when you don't take Sabbath. So
That's good. Well, what are your thoughts, Mal?
I mean, I agree. Like, I really feel like I like to hold on to my time, but I mean, at the same time, it's not my time. Like, nothing's mine. And it's one of those things that you just have to be able to learn to give up. And so I struggle with getting things done because I either want them done to a certain standard, and if they're not going to be done to that standard, it almost makes me frustrated and I freeze and I'm just kind of like, well, why try, or I'll sit there and um if I get overwhelmed, one of the things that I'll do, if I know that I have to get like 8 or 10 different things done, I'll basically freeze and just be like, I don't know what to start on and I don't know what to do. And like, so one of the things that Jason and I have started praying over is for God to really be in control of my time lately. and to be directing my priorities in my time. Because if I don't get something done and it's something that I don't need to get done because God's the one that's directing what my priorities are for that day, then there's a reason it didn't get done. And there's a reason, and there's a plan for it, and it'll happen eventually, or it didn't need to happen after all, you know? So that's been something that's been really hard for me to deal with, because I don't know, as Casey, as you know, like I was the one that was like second mom at home for years, and like if I didn't do it, nothing got done. And if I wasn't making sure everyone was doing their school, and if I wasn't making sure lunch was made, and I wasn't making sure that it didn't happen. So like, yeah, no, I totally get that. And that's something I struggle with too.
Oh, I'm curious because of you starting a business now. I haven't gotten to talk to you about it, but going from actually working a job to where somebody's delegating tasks to you versus now you're, starting your own business and starting that up, like, have you felt like that's gotten worse for you, or is it more just challenging, like in a good way?
I feel like it's gotten a little bit worse
I can
because
imagine.
uh yeah, because like working for a company where, because like I did IT before. I was in IT and I worked for a legal tech company. And in doing that, like my whole day was planned out, and I had meetings at certain times, and I had things that had to be, they had due dates and times that everything had to get done. And like where that's still true, um I'm taking orders Monday through Thursday, and then delivering things on Saturday and Sunday. So I have to literally figure out what to prioritize every single hour of the day. And I feel like if I don't, then like I'm either not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or I'm not prioritizing things right, or yeah, no, to me it's a lot more stressful not having a boss at the moment.
I can imagine. Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was pulling up Deuteronomy 5. That's one of the passages we have in that handout. And by the way, if anybody ever wants to contact or get that handout, just join the Discord. Just went live on that, and I'm going to be posting them in there. And there's a lot of scripture in there that we can speak out about. But Deuteronomy 5 is really important because it's the establishing of this covenant, right? Like here's the rules, and the rules bring life. Is the way to really be looking at it. I'm actually just going through the 10 Commandments with our kids right now. And it's the same thing. It's like trying to teach them of rules aren't just to stop you from doing bad things. It's to bring you life. And so let's just think about how this rule, let's say, have no other gods before me, what life is that bringing you? And so we talk about Jesus, and we talk about the life everlasting coming through Jesus, and keeping God as our only God and not focusing on other gods. And starting point for just being able to flip that around and look at that in so many different ways. And as we get in Deuteronomy 5, it's the same thing. Here's all the rules, here's all the law and all this stuff. And so he gets into the Sabbath in verse 12. We really start seeing it kick off with, observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, like we've been talking about, as the Lord your God has commanded you. You have, and I love this, you have 6 days of the week for your ordinary work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath day of rest, dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, your oxen, your donkeys, and other livestock. That's fun. I'd like to see how they did that. And your foreigners living among you. Your male and female servants must rest as you do, which we actually see Paul doing a lot of this, gathering together with the Sunday stuff later on, with the servants and the masters and stuff too. So we actually see a cool hyperlink with what's set up here. But then in verse 15, it's really important. Remember that you were once slaves in Egypt, but the Lord your God brought you out with his strong hand and his powerful arm. That that is why the Lord your God has commanded you to rest on the Sabbath day. And so it's this really interesting thing of slavery. He talks about the 6 days, and he brings it to this point where he says, remember, you were brought out of Egypt, you were slaves. And then he talks about resting. Why? Well, because as slaves, you were a slave to that which is your owner, right? Like your master. And he just talks about their servants and resting. A master like the Egyptian Pharaoh isn't going to care about giving you rest. He's going to work you and work you and work you and work you, similar to how you're spiritually a slave to death and the curse that is brought on through our sin, which is going to work you and work you and work you and work you and kill you. And so what he's giving them and what he's reminding them of is this isn't just a physical thing. You have a Lord your God above you who cares about you getting life. He cares about you resting the way that he rested. And you are finally free to start resting, to doing it the way that you're supposed to. You are no longer a slave. You are free to observe the Sabbath day and to keep it holy and set apart. I think that's so cool, is like looking at this like a privilege giving, like you were talking about, from your spiritual father who loves you. And he is giving you this gift to now follow this rule that's going to give you life. You know, it's not something that's going to make it harder for you. In fact, he's freeing you from the things that make it harder on your life. And we're finally set free to do that. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I just wanted to geek out on that Bible passage for a minute.
Yeah, it's two things. It's a remembrance. So he's saying, remember, you were a slavery. You never got a day off. You didn't know rest. So remember, you got delivered from that. So it's a day for us today. Like, it's to remember the good things the Lord has done. It's to testify. It's to recite it to our children. Like, it's to remind them, hey, don't forget, the Lord is merciful and gracious to those who love him and fear him and dwell with them. And by the way, like what you're saying, it's not a rule to kill you and you better do this. It's permission not to be enslaved. It's permission. Like, hey, it's okay to have a day off. It's fine. It's fine. Don't build systems and patterns that's going to enslave you again. And I think that's so great. It's like a permission. It's a permission not to work. It's okay. Put your feet up. Have a spindrift. Maybe have two. It's like, it's a blessing.
What do you do when you're worried about not doing enough work for the Lord? How would you go again? Go ahead.
Oh no, this was a conversation Casey and I've had a few months ago, because I've been sharing my faith a lot with people and just trying to disciple and do different things, and it comes out of, I don't want to say savior complex, because I know I don't save people, but more of Jesus literally died for me, and yes, I know it's good to rest, but at the same time, like, how do I know I'm doing enough? Which I know is the wrong question, right? Because we're not saved by works, but it's more of, I don't know how to word this, but Jesus literally died for me, and he died in the most excruciating way, and how in the world could I ever repay him back? Which I know I can't, but I want other people to know about him, so I'm going to keep pouring out to the point to where I was burning out, and then coming home and pouring into my kids, and then pouring into my marriage and everything else, and it was just having to learn not to like run ahead of him and actually rest, and that was okay. Like, we were created to work, but we're also created to rest. So, but this has just been an ongoing conversation for months.
Yeah, I mean, the last several months have been a lot of trying to keep toiling. Psalm 127, you're toiling. It's the same kind of thing, I think, with that as a spiritual discipline of saying, am I doing enough for the Lord too? But I think it gets caught in the same trap, whether it's for, just the toiling of labor, or if it's the toiling for the Lord. Mm-hmm. How would you kick your feet up? What do you guys got to say about that?
Well, I was gonna say, like, you have to make sure that you're not making that an idol though as well, because you have to make sure you're not spending all of that time and doing all the things, and it's like a passive idol. It's not necessarily like something that you're putting directly in front of you. But I remember I was involved in so many things in church. So I was a youth leader. I was on the praise team. I was in charge of a small group that was for the young adults and college age group. I was one of the women's Bible study leaders. So I was at church, I think 4 or 5 nights a week doing different things. But in that, my personal walk suffered because I was putting all of those things and saying, like, I'm doing all of these things, it's enough. Like I'm doing enough here and with this and with this and with this. I don't necessarily need to be digging into the Bible on my own, and I don't necessarily need to be doing this, this, and this. And it was more putting those things as like passive idols in front of me. So I think you really have to be careful with how much that you're trying to do in like overextending, and making sure that what you're doing is for him, and not just because it's something that you're looking to do because you feel like you need to do it, not necessarily him calling you to do it.
What do you think, Chris? Oh, I think I got dislodged there. What do you think, Chris? Help us out.
I think people need to chill out. I mean, permission to chill. Like here's what I hear. Okay, the Lord will tell you, Autumn. The Lord will lead you. And how do we get into a spot for him to tell us when's enough is enough, and when maybe we hear from the Lord practicing Sabbath. We hear from the Lord practicing rest, which is like even more critical. We talked about Psalm 127 last week, right, Casey?
Oh yeah, quite a bit.
So I bring it home with Psalm 128. So recap 127. Unless the Lord builds the house. So we aren't striving and doing, the Lord is. Unless he's building it, those who build it, we're building it with him. But if we're building something he's not building, we're doing it, we labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake and in vain. Watchmen are important. It's not saying we don't need watchmen. It's saying, but ultimately the work and the watch is done by the Lord. We're joining him. Unless he does it, it's fruitless. Abide in me, because apart from me, you can do nothing. So we can abide or we can do nothing. All our works are as filthy rags. Like, it is in vain that you rise up early. I've been this guy. And you go late, you stay up doing one more spreadsheet till midnight, eating the bread of anxious toil. And then it brings the priority. Behold, children are heritage from the Lord. So prioritize your family, right? But in the beginning of Psalm 128, this was probably a continuation of the same thought. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. So it's bringing fear, walking in the ways on the narrow way, that you're in righteousness from Sabbath, right? We're hearing from the Lord, practicing Sabbath. Verse 2, you shall eat the fruit, parenthetical, that has been produced in your life by the Lord because you're abiding in him, of the labor. Wait a second. He said, wait, if I took the Psalm 127 to extreme, do not toil, anxious toil, I'm building something, but this is, now it's kept coming back to labor. So like, you do have to work. There is something for your hands to do. End of Psalm 90, which is saying, count your days, right? The years of your life are 70 or even 80. Count your days. It concludes, the last line in that chapter is, bless the work of our hands. So there's this thing about priorities. And the number one priority is Sabbath and abide, because apart from that, so I am all about the chill, because I think so many people are so far away from the chill and so far into striving that it's normal, that their cortisol's too high. They got high blood pressure, cancer, Where do cancers possibly come from? Stress, right? Like all this stuff. And I just think the Lord wants us to rest in him. Now, contrast that with Paul. Beats his body like an athlete, pouring out my life like a living sacrifice, dying to self. So it's this thing of like we're walking with the Lord. And if I bring some practicality to it in the church, or people that are servants like all of you. Did we lose Mallerie?
Yeah, I think she got home.
So like if like what Autumn is saying, what Mallerie is saying, where we have all been in our life, where it's just like do, and it's good intended. I think so much this could be a rabbit trail for a future episode. We can do work for the church and for the Lord and unto the Lord, but not be sourced in the Lord. Our priesthood, you are a kingdom of priests. We are priests. We are a temple of the Lord. Priesthood is not just a title. It is a lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle of relational knowing. And anything we're putting our hand to at church, striving without knowing, is a recipe for crushing, depression, worst case, leaving the faith. And I think we let church systems easily be like, volunteer here, come do this, we got to do this. Probably like half the programs at every church in the United States need cut. Like it's just so off the rails and so away from Sabbath. It's away from rest, and it's about striving, maybe performance, and do. And it's like, man, how do we set up a church community where we're practicing knowing, we're practicing the relational without getting all the things done that are really being influenced by corporate culture, org charts, key performance metrics, and are we off base where we have wonderful people like Casey and Autumn and Mallerie and Jason who are talking about being burned out, like how the systems that have led them, how have we led people that want the gospel to be shared and the world to be touched and our families to be changed, living in the presence of the Lord? Why are these people getting burned out? Are we talking about the wrong thing? I talk too much. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I like what you're saying. Yeah, I would say that I don't really struggle with this as much now, but we have talked about the past couple months because I have been in a spot to where it was burned out here, burned out there, because you're just pouring out. And one thing like I'm realizing is just walking in step with the Holy Spirit, because if I'm not running ahead of him, I'm not burning out, and if I'm not lagging behind, I won't grow lukewarm, and complacent. And I think before it was almost a fear mindset of, I see, because we've been in so many different churches and worked for so many different churches. There were churches that you just pour out because it's kind of the nature of it. And then we've been in churches to where it's complacent and it's almost just a get together, but nobody's sharing the gospel. Nobody's discipling. Nobody's being equipped to be sent out. And they weren't a terrible church. I just don't think they realized it was a problem. So then it was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. Like, I want biblical Christianity. I want to, step into the Great Commission. And so learning to do that well, but then taking it into my own hands of, I'm going to strive and do this because the least I could do, right? But then now operating out of, and we still don't do Sabbath well. So I'm not saying Sabbath, but operating out of the rest that you get of just abiding in Jesus, it's completely freeing, So, and it's something I'm still learning. I know, You're probably still learning a bit, but
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe there's something too about, when you've been in ministry or if you work a lot with the church as a volunteer, either or, you kind of view the church as the pattern, I guess, of rest. And so when you try to follow it and do it yourself, you find yourself getting into the same ruts that the collective church gets into as well. Where it's just the same thing. It's just it's micro version. It's me doing it now. It's not the church doing it. It's I'm finding the same problems, and I think it just comes from not abiding and not saying, okay, this is the starting point. The starting point is God comes first, no matter what. No matter what, He comes first, and so I'm going to strive for that. Because I know what comes out of it. I know He's the wellspring of life. I know He's the giver of that. And I know if I just come to Him with open hands, He's going to give me exactly what I need. But if I don't do that and I try to work for Him, but I don't come to Him, then I'm doing the same thing that a church would do. I'm just doing it by myself at that point, and it's more personal even that way, because you find the failing point, which is humanity, and that's why we need Jesus.
I think people in church world need permission to say no a lot more than they do.
Yeah.
But that's because this is what I do believe for all of us. The scripture about the body. One's an arm, one's a foot, one's an ear, like it all works together. But they have permission to say no and confidence to say no because they know absolutely the thing that God has given them to carry and be a part of. And I think honestly, having littles and having a family, like that's the ultimate calling. Like that's the like it's a lot to take care of a family and manage a household. And your kids, and it's like, and then if church are like, we need volunteers, like really, that's going to be one of the last things you're going to do is volunteer for the kids ministry because you're in it like 24/7 with littles. And I just think it just spins and people, it's like this. I mean, as an illustration, I did this when I was elder at a church, and there was just that you've all seen this narrative. We need volunteers, and it's the same kids announcement every week. We need we need, and I did. So it was a church of, it was like there's 300 people on the roll that could attend, and there's 120 members that aren't there every Sunday, but the average attendance is 100 to 105 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got all the ministry leaders to do a service every Sunday. We had attendance of 105 and 80 ministry slots. And my thing was like, guys, we're trying to do so many things and badly. And it just goes, well, we've always done that. It's like you can't like it's like the cardinal rule in churchianity. Once you start something, it can never end. and I think ministry tactics and initiatives need to have a time limit. We're going to do this for 7 months, for this quarter, for the Lord's telling us 2 years, and then we're going to reassess. And I think people volunteering in the church need to see rest and Sabbath implemented in the calendar, meaning you're in the band for 6 months, and then you have a mandated 3-month, we can't put you on the calendar. I think there's ways to build systems that don't think and that I think that's honestly why people are reluctant to commit, because they think, oh, if I volunteer to do this, I'm doing it forever.
The rest of my life.
For the rest of my life. And people are like, oh man, I can't. And so I think leaders can do a better job of designing the way we talk, and probably just eliminate half the ministries right now. Or that becomes not a church sanctioned thing. That's your thing. Great, go and do. How do we help you do that? Go. go do it. And I just think it's Jesus is coming. Look busy has overtaken us. It's like and it's like that isn't necessarily. I don't know.
Let's start preaching from Ecclesiastes. There's a
Which
time.
one?
There's a time for everything,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think us having as many kids as we have and moving around for ministry, we've been in some churches that were super understanding of the season we were in, and then we've been in others that like, well, why aren't you signing up for this and this and this and coming over this person's house and that person's house? And it's like we have so many crazy kids right now, and then it's almost like, oh, you're not really, a Christian then, that type of a thing, and having to say no a lot and being okay to be that person. I think that was kind of free.
Well, ironically, the pastor was leaving the church when we got into that one that I would say we experienced that the most at.
It was amazing.
Oh, the first thing that he told me was, hey, you guys need to say no to almost everybody here. That was like the first thing that he told me. It's like, and he gave me all the permission. The problem was he was leaving. Yeah. So, it was great for a season when he was still there.
He was much older than us and gave us a lot of wisdom, like right before he left. I'm like, oh, this is really good. But we were not prepared.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the church was very loving. It had a lot of people who just wanted to spend time with you. And so it was good, but it was people who wanted to love you their way instead of wanting to like let you be you while you loved each other, So I love food, so I need to give you food because that's how you love me, right? Like that's how you project.
But I want you to come over to my house where I have white walls, white furniture, sit at my dining table with my really good china because we want to love you, which is so good. So I don't want to dog them. That's not what I'm saying. Because you had a mix of people. You had people who were just wanting to be generous and show you hospitality, but we had kids that were not going to have it. And then you had some people like, well, my wife's doing this. Why aren't you doing this? Or my husband's doing this. Why aren't you doing this? That type of a thing. So you had a good mix. But not all, I would say, were bad. I think a lot of them had really good intentions, but just learning to say no, it was freeing.
It was, yeah. I want to jump into this real quick. So I want to get your thoughts as we jump into here at first. But this little chart here, we talked about creation. We talked about freedom that are on the top here with some passages there involved. But right here on the bottom too, I wanted to kind of get into, there's like a heart posture that we have, right? So we have the lie, that Psalm 127 that we live in these days, and it's about vanity. We're doing it without the Lord, right? Like we're not setting things apart to him, but we just run and do things. So we labor all day. And that endless grinding, in that theological statement is giving us this idea of we can survive, like I can survive through this at one point in time, or at some point in time, I'm going to find rest. I don't know when that is, but I'm laboring for the Lord, but I'm really not. I'm not spending time with him. I'm not engaging with him. I'm just laboring for him. And it's just vanity. And if I stop, it falls apart. Is really the phrase there. If I stop doing this, then things are going to fall apart. Which I've gotten even with people with theology at points where they say, if I don't go out there, people are going to hell. If I stop, people are going to go to hell. If I stop witnessing, it's like, okay, there's a lot of ownership problem here, with what's going on. Complex. Yeah, right. And so even in good things, we can still do that and make that mistake. That's saying if I stop, it all falls apart. But the gift in this heart posture is something that I just wanted to kind of bring up and get your thoughts on it. That Sabbath is something that's made for you, and it's a call it a delight. That's the way we should be thinking about rest, calling it a delight. And we see in Mark 2 and in Isaiah 58 how that works. But basically, it's a day to actually receive that gift that God's giving to us, not perform. We're not trying to get things done on those days. We're just sitting there And God gives us this gift to just receive, to spend time with Him, to abide, to just listen to Him. I think it was Joseph Hull who was on here a few weeks ago when I asked him, what's one piece of advice you give somebody? He said, spending time listening to God is never time wasted. Something to that effect. I love that. It's just, you get to just sit there, listen to God. You get to sit there and abide in Him. You get to sit there and rest with all the toiling that's going on. Kind of like same thing of tomorrow's got its own troubles. Like today's got enough trouble for us to focus on. Stop focusing on tomorrow's troubles. Just focus on today. And like you're saying, Chris, just chill out. Just chill out and let that be a delight to you. Find that as something that is beautiful and just stop and rest in Him. But what do you guys think about that heart posture kind of going into a Sabbath or going into this practice of saying, I'm gonna have this be something and I consider it to be delightful in my life?
I think it's important. I think it's very important for you to have that type of heart posture as you're going into some sort of Sabbath or anything like that. I feel like it's important to have that heart posture just coming into having like a daily devotional time with the Lord and being able to walk with Him and everything. It's yeah, I just feel like it's a pretty important heart posture for sure.
Have you guys felt that delight aspect of it when you're in His presence and you finally like just stopped, like legitimately stopped? Has that been like,
Yeah, so I instead of at this church, so we currently go to Christ Church of the Valley, so CCV. It's a mega church here in Phoenix, but it doesn't feel like a mega church because um it's so personal, and like all of the pastors are always on site at some campus. Like if they're not at one campus, they're at a different one, even when they're not preaching. Like so they're there to talk to everyone, and they're there to be with everyone. And they really encourage small groups and everything like that. So like I love this church so much. Um this church I've not felt like I've needed to, or I've really tried not to jump into being a part of everything. I've really tried to kind of take a step back and pray and ask God what He wanted us to do. And we started serving we found one of the smaller campuses that was just like this tiny little, I think there was like 100 people that had started going to this church. It was a brand new, they just opened it. And so we started going there and we started getting to know the community there and the people there. And Jason, Jason signed us up to be ushers. And I looked at him and I was like, I don't like people. I don't know how you want me to be the person to ask, like, excuse me, can you scoot over so someone else can come sit here? Like, no, that's not me. And I was like, I hated it every morning. I was like, Jason, I can't do this. He's like, serving should be something that brings you joy. And I was like, it's bringing me anxiety. It's not bringing me joy. He's like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm gonna go work in the nursery and you can come say hi to everyone. But I'm gonna go do that. So I found that to do. And so I worked in like 2 to 4 year olds for about a year at that campus, and it was so great. And like um, as Casey and Autumn know, Jason and I have been struggling with infertility. I have PCOS, and it causes great issues with infertility. So that's been an ongoing thing for the past 5 years. And one of the women in my small group asked me if I wanted to be a part of the there's a Sunday evening program for when the high school students are in church. We provide free childcare for all of the high school coaches, so that way they don't have to find childcare for themselves if they want to serve and be a high school youth leader. So I was like, absolutely. So Sunday nights, so those are the only two things I do. Sunday mornings I work in nursery, and Sunday nights I go in, and it's actually a paid position instead of volunteer. I would do it voluntarily. It's like I think I end up with $30 for like working on a Sunday night, but I mean it's I don't even care. I see the same kids over and over, and it's like if I didn't have a Sabbath, this would be something that would absolutely refresh my day. and refresh me for the week, is like being able to be around those kids and like hear different stories, and like you grow with the little kids because it's always the same ones, because it's the same coach's kids. So it's been so much nicer to be able to just delight in what I'm doing instead of going into it and being like, well, now I have to do this, and I have to be here Tuesday for this group, and I have to be here Wednesday for this group, and I have to do this. And if I don't do it, someone else isn't going to do it, and they're going to need more help, and that's not what it's about. So, yeah, no, I absolutely love serving now.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I remember that when this person finally told us about delighting in Sabbath, and like they were saying, yeah, you don't have to just sit at home and read your Bible for the entire day, but you can go out, you could do stuff that you actually enjoy. Just spend time with God and do it while you're enjoying it. He created you with things that you just naturally enjoy, and so go delight in that stuff and do it for the Lord because He wants you to experience that. And that was something I was really I love the idea of, but there was also like this kind of, I think you could go a little overboard with it and maybe just do things for self pleasure a lot of times too. And so there was a tension there, kind of writing sometimes, and I didn't really know how to deal with that. But Chris, when you think of delighting in Sabbath, and maybe a little bit to what I'm talking about too, that struggle that maybe people have sometimes of, am I just doing this for myself? Where's that line, like, of saying I'm setting this apart for God? I'm giving Him the time and starting my week out with Him, versus, I'm just going to go hit some golf balls and just spend time by myself, go hunting or whatever it is. Is there a line there, or what would you say to somebody who's struggling with that?
Yes, there is a line, and it's different for every person. like we want to make it not fuzzy. Can I do this? Can I do this? Well, I don't know. Just the Lord. like I and I think, your graphics tonight are on point, Casey. Those are so good.
Oh, thanks. Claude does a wonderful job.
But if what was your last graphic there? What was the word? Basically, the world's going to fall apart if I take a break, right? Or I'm made for you, I call delight. Do you believe the King of the universe knows what He's talking about? Yes or no?
Yes.
If it's yes, all chips in. If it's no, you might want to rethink that. And if you're saying, I don't have time for this, I'm too busy. Oh, I've heard this one. Oh, it must be, your white male privilege must be nice for you that you can take a day off. I mean, I didn't say it. God said it. And like, if we want to say, even a small step, let's say someone's not observing at all, or this concept is completely foreign, and like, I actually have to work on Saturdays, like, go to the Lord in all humility and say, Lord, I take you on your word. I believe this is valuable. I want to make a change in my life. Show me what to do. Can you make a way where there seems no way? And I've had friends pray this about being on the schedule, on working on. They wanted to come into alignment on a Saturday, but their schedule was working all weekend. Like, they're working Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He prayed about it for a week daily. His boss came to him and said, "You know what? You've been here a while. Would you like to adjust your schedule?" Like I just think, like, the Lord makes a way if we say, I want to honor you. I want to walk in this way. You are the ruler. I believe this is good. You are prescribing this as good for me. I want to participate. Show me how, Lord. Show me how. And I think, and then the other thing, I think it's easy to be abstract. If we know this is like to know the Lord, we can do church activity and religion and look good, but we don't know Him. And Scripture tells us this. We will come before the Lord, and some of us will go to be with the sheep, and some will go to be the goats. And people will say, didn't we cast out demons? and visit the sick, or heal the sick and visit those in prison? Didn't we do all these works in your name? And he says, what?
Depart from me.
Depart from me. He doesn't say, no, you didn't. He said, you did those works, but it's all rubbish because I didn't know you. Judas, he was there. He was part of the 72 that Kenneth sent out, doing all the things, but he didn't know the heart of the Lord. He didn't know the Lord. And it's easy to be abstract in talking about God, but think about your spouse or your best friend that you want to know. What do? You don't say, hey, I'm going golfing today for 8 hours. Sorry, I'm doing it. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you say I don't have money for it. I don't care what you say, because I'm going to do it. You could say that language to the Lord. Or if there's another coming, the conversations about coming under versus talking down. Hey, I'm not a golfer, so I'm making this up. But like, hey, man, the guy's asking me to go golfing, but I know we talked about, you said you want to go to the movies or hang out Saturday afternoon. And your wife could be like, actually, I'd appreciate the day away. But how long will you be gone? But we could go to dinner later, right? And then it's like, so like you could have this, so you could have the same thing or activity could be a no, strong no for one person, that in a different world is completely freeing and healthy for another. And we won't know unless we know the Lord. And so it can be, and you're not going to be on the driving range being like, Psalm 23, whoosh, like, John 3:16, whoosh. I mean, I don't think that's like, it's in the quiet and the stillness. Or like you'll be in the golf cart driving between holes, and you'll see a crane on the water and be overcome with emotion because God showed you something in that picture. Like, it's not legal. It's not like legalistic. You have to do this and you can't do this. They got mad at Jesus for healing on the Sabbath. How in their world could they, wait, I'm bringing healing and life and favor to the human body. Well, how have you lost your way to call this bad? And then same time he's chastising them. They're trying to keep, then it's not they're trying to keep the tithing principle, like mint, like they're counting mint leaves off their, like a rosemary. You ever seen a rosemary stick? Looks kind of like a pine needle. Like I counted 100 of one. Like I'm gonna give 2. I'm gonna do extra today. And he's like, yeah, you're making up stuff, and you think you're honoring me, but you're doing this for yourself, and it's not acceptable. And so, unfortunately, I don't think there's a line. Like it is union and communion with the Lord, like you would talk to a spouse or your best friend. How do you get to know your best friend? Hey, let's hang out. Let's go get tacos. So your Sabbath could be getting tacos with the Lord. And you're like, Lord, lead me to the great taco truck. Show me the best taco. I'm just going to drive, and I want it. And you're sitting down, having a conversation with the Lord and your tacos. Like there would be a person manifested in front of you, and you would say, what's going on? How's your day? Is there anything you want to tell me? You know that thing that at my work, right? I told you about that. I kind of think I should have handled that differently. What would you have done? I'm talking like I'm talking to a friend, but that's what prayer is. You're having tacos with the Lord, like just like, and like be with the Lord like you'd be with your best friend. That breaks down at some point, but like it's like, it's like this dialogue. And if that dialogue's at the taco truck, if that dialogue's on a kayak, if that dialogue is in your jammies in your couch, if that dialogue is with your spouse together, it's ask the Lord to show you, and he will be faithful to show you.
Mm. When you said taco truck, I know exactly what you're thinking about.
Oh, the taco truck in Yakima.
There's this taco truck that obsessively we had to go to when she was pregnant in Yakima. It was fantastic.
So in Yakima, I don't know if everybody's familiar, there's a huge Hispanic community there. I mean, it's just really, really big there. And there was this awesome like street taco truck, and I was big and pregnant with my 5th child, my daughter, and I got to the point when I go there, the lady would be like, "Oh, you want this?" And she'd name off my order, and I'd be like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Like, it was almost daily there towards the end of my pregnancy. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But I still could never get sick off of those. I would just eat them to this day. They're so good.
It's the kind of taco truck where, like, when you say no cilantro, they just give you a handful of cilantro because that's
but
no
he doesn't
cilantro.
like cilantro or onions.
Yeah.
Where to me, I'm like, this is like
Yeah.
glory. Like this is the best.
I've got the soap taste thing with cilantro.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have that.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Ugh,
Mhm.
gross.
I feel so bad for you guys because that stuff was bomb. It was good.
Getting onto this, so we talked about how Sabbath from creation to Jesus. I want to bring this to Jesus. So we have. I've been throwing around this idea of like, Jesus is Sabbath. He is the rest and all that. But I just want to ask you guys: when you think of Jesus and you think of Sabbath, how do those things come into completeness? Like, where's the unification of those two roads, where the Son of Man and Sabbath rest just join together and they become an intersection in a glorious way that we get to experience?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Oh, okay. I think for me, it's just understanding the gospel, understanding your identity in Christ, and because I no longer have to, I would say strive, which that still wouldn't have gotten you anywhere anyways, but just to be able to rest in the fact that Jesus has paid for my sin. He was the ultimate sacrifice. Like, I'm righteous before God because of him. Just to have that rest, to me, that kind of represents Sabbath in a way, that I can just rest in his sacrifice, and everything out of that, serving him, whatever it might be, I can just rest in that. So.
Yeah, I see. Like, so I think for me, a lot of bringing it back to and tying it in with Jesus is um just being able to take that time and know that there is that time where I can sit there and I can find my rest in him, and I can actually, even when everything's going crazy and when there's everything happening, and you don't know when your next like actual break or day off, or if you're in a season where you don't actually have like a day off, you can actually just find those little moments where you can just sit there and pray, or sit there and open up the Bible and just be able to be with him and be refreshed by him. Or if you have other Christians in your community, or if you have like a community of people that you go to, you can even like reach out to someone and say like, "Hey, can we pray together?" Or, "Hey, I'm struggling with this and this, and I'm really looking to be able to lean on Jesus for rest in this moment, and like I'm struggling with being able to find a moment to like even rest." And like I think that's also important, is being able to lean on other people and ask them to be able to come around you in those moments too.
That's good.
Well, Jesus observed the Sabbath,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in synagogues, the traditional Sabbath. And then in Acts, there's references to the apostles observing Sabbath and being in the synagogues. But like when you were talking, Casey, I was thinking this is one of my favorite mind bender passages in John 14. John 14:21. I'll start in 21. Whoever has my commandments and keeps them, which one of those would be honor the Sabbath? He it is who loves me. So just like our kids honor us and love us by showing us the rules of favor we've given them. So it's an interesting parallel. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him. Isn't that interesting? Keeping commandments, keeping Sabbath unlocks his love and his manifestation to us. Jesus answered in verse 23, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word. What word? What word are we talking about? If anyone loves me, he will keep my word. So again, you're showing you love the Lord by keeping honoring what he says. And my Father will love him. And check this out. We will come to him and make our home with him. Whoever does not love me does not keep my words, does not honor, does not think I know what I'm talking about, thinks that what I've written or what I've spoken and given to you, you're not taking seriously. And the word that you hear is not mine, because he repeats what the Father says to him. So he's having union. He knows his Father. If you obey the commands, now you are in line with the Father through Jesus to such an extent that you look out and you hear the beep up sound on a truck. Beep, beep, beep. What's that noise? You peek out the window and there's a U-Haul backing up to your front door. Who is it? Oh my goodness. It's Jesus and his dad. They're moving in. That's today. He said if we do what he says, he will make his home with us. He's here. Is that going to be stressful to have the Lord Jesus in your house? Or is that going to be restful and peaceful? Mary and Martha. For one, it was rest and peace. For one, it was stressed out and striving. So I think Jesus is the manifest. If I make that stretch, like Jesus is the manifestation to bring you peace, like he carried into the home of Mary and Martha and Lazarus, but two different responses in the same home. I was just thinking, John 14, like, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you could do, I'm cracking myself up. Imagine if all of us in the United States, let's keep it to the United States, had dinner commitment at least once a week with our community and our family. And every one of us read John 14 and 15 and John 16 every day for the rest of our life and applied it. Oh my goodness. There's so much in John 14 and 15. Abide, apart from me, you can do nothing. I'm making my home with you. Do my commandments. Oh, it's my favorite. It's my favorite.
I gotta dive back into that. I've been in like First Timothy lately and really soaking in some of that stuff, and that's been fun. But yeah, coming back to, there's some really, I'm going to geek out for a minute, and I pulled up some of this stuff just because I need to remember how it applies. Jesus observed Sabbath, absolutely. So we see that happen when he goes on Sabbath, he preaches on Sabbath, like you were saying, and all of that. So he's observing it himself, which is really important. We see that in Luke. But then we also see, even in his death, the burial, and resurrection, we see the Sabbath being observed, which is kind of interesting. So it happens on Friday, right? And then he is laid down to rest all through Saturday, and then resurrection Sunday, he comes back up. So we even see the Sabbath being fulfilled through his death, which is crazy interesting of what that can imply.
Yeah, they couldn't bury him. They had to bury him. They had to wait for the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Like it was still happening.
Yep. It's just
And
nuts.
that's not a coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence because he died right before sunset, right? And so there were some things that were going on that God had designed that was happening there, and the fact that he rose on the Jubilee, which means that he was risen on the first fruits, the celebration of first fruits, which is this celebration that they would have. Jubilee is every 50 years when they would release people from slavery and release people from their debts to their debtors and all of that. And what's he rising on? Well, it's the Jubilee of Jubilees, right? Like it's so many that come up to make this culmination of this great Jubilee that happens once every, I think 70 times 7 times is what it is, something like that. Somebody will correct me. But it's this culmination effect where he comes and he frees everybody from their debt to sin and death, because he is now the way, the truth, and the life. And so he becomes this embodiment of rest, and he becomes this embodiment of the way out of the wilderness and into life. Just unbelievably mind-boggling.
At rest? Was he at rest on Sabbath?
Ooh, I mean, you were geeking out about this. What was the passage you were talking about with me about where was he during?
Oh, it was from, I scanned over it. I had like 2 minutes to look at it. I can't remember. It's in 1 Peter.
So it's about where was he?
Descending into Sheol and free. Yeah.
Yeah, very debated.
Where do you guys stand with that? That's a geeky passage.
I think he was in hell, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Can you read the passage?
Yeah.
She's looking for it.
Hold on.
We'll make it really tense and just stare at her.
Stop. I'm trying to write it because I had it in my Bible, not on my phone.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good question, though. And people have been asking that for a long time. Where was Jesus when he was dead, and was he resting in the way that his body was laid to rest? So that's still symbolism of what we understand, absolutely. But what was he actually doing?
Well, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, you're good.
Here, just keep talking. I'll find it.
Keep talking. Well, yeah, let's talk about something. Never mind. We're just going to time out because we're running away from the conversation. But no,
I just texted Jason because I know we just had this conversation. We were talking about it the other day, and I was like, I don't remember what you said, because he had like done a whole bunch of research on all of this, and like he's someone who will listen to and find opposing viewpoints to figure out where the Bible stands on the different things and what Jesus says about the different things, but will listen to the other viewpoints as well, because it's a non-essential, right? It's not like it's not essential to your salvation. It's something that we don't have an answer to, and we will eventually at some point in time, like it's one of those things that, like, there are so many different points of view on this that it's really interesting to try to figure out what you actually believe and like where you stand on it. So I just texted him because I was like, I want we were talking about it 2 days ago, and I was like, what was it?
All right, she's got it.
Well, we like to, it's funny because we talk about that all the time. Like, if it's not a gospel issue and it's more of a secondary thing, because we've dealt with a lot of disunity with Christians of, oh, if you believe this but it's not a gospel issue, I can't be associated with you. And it's okay to not know it, and it's okay to not know it with it, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
So it's 1 Peter 3:18. Christ and on Christ suffered for our sins once for all time. He never sinned, but he died for sinners to bring you safely home to God. He suffered physical death, but he was raised to life in the spirit. So he went and preached to the spirits in prison, those who disobeyed God long ago, when God waited patiently while Noah was building his boat. Only 8 people were saved from drowning in that terrible flood, and that water is a picture of baptism, and then it goes on from there. But just wondering, like, okay, who is he talking about, and where was he? Because I mean, that obviously was passed. So I don't know.
Yeah, who
It's
are
just
the slaves he
interesting.
was preaching to?
Yeah.
Yeah, are the people in prison. So I think that's where it kind of comes up of people asking all the time, like, okay, what's prison? You know, because then it goes into Noah, and it goes into the people who didn't. They passed up the salvation that Jesus is now the picture of, is again, you know, with the ark. He's the same symbolism of that. You know, he is the boat. Go for it, Chris.
How does Peter know this?
You know what? When we get to heaven, I'll tell you this. I have a lot of questions for Peter.
He's the rock, man.
Like, I have a
You,
lot.
Peter, come here. I got questions for you.
For real.
I'm gonna hunt him down, or maybe he'll just be right there. Cause I don't know, you know. But
Well, from my Catholic grandpa, he always told me that Peter was going to be standing at the pearly gates on the outside waiting for people. There were a few jokes in that, but basically, Peter is probably one of the most well-informed people, I guess, in the world when it comes to the Catholics.
there's something about him.
But I mean, for real, that's a great question. And yeah, I mean, Jesus talked to Peter and John a lot. And there's a lot that they discuss that I'm really curious about, especially with what Jesus put on Peter, what John produced, if you believe that he's the same John from Revelation, which I think is absolutely true. But you have these two men who experienced a lot of in-depth understanding of who Jesus was, spiritual things, and really helping build up the pillars of what was to become the New Testament church. And so, Peter, I don't know, but how did he know this? I don't know. But what does he mean, though? What does he mean going in to preaching to prisoners? I could just geek out on that for a while.
Either way, I think no matter where anybody stands on it, just makes Jesus that much cooler. It's like, what were you doing, Jesus?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going back to the crazy cool identity of Sabbath and rest and what Jesus embodied when he even died on the cross and was risen from the dead. There's this through line from creation of God resting, and then the resting going just jump from the rest that happened with the completion of the Garden of Eden, where all the work was very good and he rested, to the rest that had to happen to bring us all back into that relationship and restore it, that was actually done in a very evil way. There was rest that was happened, and that was the first thing that happened before relationship was restored into that garden. And it's just really kind of cool when you can see the bookmarks of that, of what God gave up in his own son so that we could be redeemed back to that garden through death, that rest, as it were, that death that he had to give for us, that sacrifice for redemption. And I think that's why Peter's bringing up the ark too, really, is this is the salvation boat here. And Jesus wanted all to be saved. And I was geeking out with 1 Timothy, I think last week with you, Chris, about that prayer, that starting point for our habits in life. But our prayer needs to be that all will be saved, because that is the heart of God. He wants all to be saved. And so the fact that he would go and preach to people during the Sabbath, in prison, whatever he's doing, that's amazing. It shows his heart posture of he wants all to be saved. And that's something that we get to take part in as well. And I think we get to get excited about that, even on our days of rest too. It's, you don't shut up about what you love. And if I love God and my heart is after his heart, then no matter what day it is, no matter what I'm doing, I'm always resting when I'm talking about the gospel, when I'm sharing it with somebody. That's restful for me. It's exciting. It's delightful. It's something that brings life in, because I get to talk about what people get to have. And I don't know. I think Jesus as the Sabbath is something that we need to clarify a little bit, because that's where we find our rest. But let me ask this question as we're kind of tying it off here. As a Christian, I'm going to go back to my conversation with that Pastor Gary. are we freed from, and freed is a word that I don't want to use in the sense of we were ever a slave to the 7-day Sabbath ritual, because I think that's a beautiful thing. But are we freed from the rule of you have to stop every 7 days? And are we able to just rest whenever and find that rejuvenation because of Jesus? Or is there something more important and significant for us still observing those rules, even though we're set free from them, I guess, for our salvation? And this goes back into, like, I think what you're talking about with John 14, Chris, with you obey him because you love him, and you're honoring him. And so what does that mean for us with Old Covenant versus New Covenant and Sabbath?
I'd say yes. I would say the 10 Commandments. It is a 10 Commandment, right?
Yeah.
It is one of the so a lot of other rules, people, one of the common is like, oh, I can't eat a goat and milk, or I can't eat meat and dairy. Well, that's a little distortion of it. But but most people will not say you can now murder.
Right.
Okay, pick which one. So if you're like 10 command, so all things being equal, 10 commandments are a moral standard, right? As C.S. Lewis and Mere Christianity, he'll talk about moral, or what's he call it, natural law of nature, man, or something like that. There's a natural moral code, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's if you said all things being equal, whether you believe Jesus is your savior or your Messiah from death or not, in general, if you don't cheat on your wife and you don't kill anybody and you don't steal from banks, your life's going to be generally better than if you do those things. And I would say the same for Sabbath. If great, work 7 days a week, never rest. So as a principle and a moral, hey, this is your life's going to be good. What is it? Deuteronomy 28, or those chapters where it's saying, if you do this and you do this and you obey this, you're going to have favor and blessing and your crops going to grow. If you don't do this and you basically go against what I say, you're going to have a rough life. It's not going to go good. So I'd say, yeah, the principle, it's a principle for favor and blessing and health, but it's also more than a principle. It's more, and you don't do it for salvation, but you do it to show you love, and you do it to I'm losing the word. Become more like Jesus. It's not for salvation. It's to show your love and take him according to his word. The jury is still out for me on whether it should be Saturday or not.
Yeah.
For me it's Saturday, but I don't have a reason that I could come against someone in some excruciating or extenuating circumstance where that's just not possible. But I think it could be possible because it's mental. Brother Lawrence with the Lord washing dishes. But that's where I am at with it.
So what is it with you that makes Saturday so special? Not forget about other people. For you, what is it that makes Saturday so powerful?
It's just the alignment with, from whenever they've been keeping time with the Sabbath, and now they can do that with science and telescopes, about just coming into alignment with what it was biblical, rather than making it up. Oh, pick a day, it's going to be that day, and so you're kind of doing it. But I think it's a matter of the heart, though. That's where I would land on it. If you're in some conviction that it's got to be Monday and it's set apart for Monday, and you feel the covering of the Lord on that, great,
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important. Here's what I think it would be. It's more. There is that passage. I was going to read it. where they're challenging him on healing on the Sabbath, and Jesus says, well, don't you know the Levites were working on the Sabbath, and I think that, what's the term, the priests in the temple are guiltless or something like that. So he's like acknowledging, like, for some people, they were working, like this would be people in Sunday service culture. They're working, but so what did the Levites do to observe Sabbath? Right?
Yeah.
That's why I say I'm not sure, like, it's but what I think is the pattern. Like, pick a day and a time, and especially if you have kids, like you're setting a precedent. This wasn't in my house. There's a precedence. We're here together at dinner. We're inviting a friend. We have an all invitation for family, and tonight we're gonna have dinner, read a scripture. It's basically a home group. Read a scripture, but this is what we're saying. We're going to say we are going to honor Sabbath in our home at this time regularly. And of course there could be flexibility, but I just think as a principle, I mean, I just feel like, since it's in scripture and the Lord said it, take him on his word and see what happens.
That's cool. What about you, Mel?
Which question?
That's a
There
good question.
were a couple. We've rabbit trailed a couple times.
Where do we start that one at? Was it well,
Um.
I can't remember.
Do you believe it should be a day, or and I think yeah, I think it really should be a day of the week that you it should be for sure once a week that it's a thing. I think it's also one of those things where if you miss it, it's not like you're gonna it's not like you're ruining your entire next week because you've missed a day. Because life happens and things happen, and but I mean I do believe that God will give you the time during days to be able to set time apart for him, and set time apart to take time and sit there and pray and basically tune out the world and tune people out, and spend that time with your family and everyone, and be able to spend that time with him. But I do believe it is important to really try to set apart a specific day of the week. We have not landed on what we necessarily believe, whether it should be Saturday or not. um right now Saturday is the day that works best for us to be able to have our Sabbath on, because our church does, they have Saturday service as well as Sunday, and then there's a Monday service. So they do Saturday, Sunday, Monday. um the Saturday service is the live services, so like we love going to those because they're live. The music worship is always live at all of the campuses, but like they'll have two services on Saturday that are live. And so that's where we had liked going to church on Saturday, and we would spend the rest of the day in him, and then we'd go to church. And recently one of Jason's friends cousins, I know, random, um has started reaching out to Jason and asking if he could come to church with us. And he's someone we went on a cruise with in 2023, and we ended up having a debate with, there was someone who's a Jew, there was an atheist, there's an agnostic, and then there's us who are non-denominational, who were all sitting together in one of the little cafes on this Disney cruise ship, debating different religious views. And like we had, by the end of that conversation, there were like a crowd of people that had started moving closer to where we were to listen in on the conversation that was happening. And it was so funny. But this cousin was a part of that cruise trip, and he had sat there and he's like, I don't believe in anything really. I'm just kind of, here. And so recently he started asking if he could come to church with us, because he knows that we're Christians and we go to this church, and when Barron's in town he goes. And so we asked him what day and what service works best for you, and we will go to that church service with you. So that's kind of where we're at, and we're letting God kind of lead that direction there. And so he has wanted to go on Sunday mornings. So we go on Sunday mornings with him, and then Saturday, we've been trying to have every other Saturday do like a family dinner with Jason's sisters and family that's all in town, and have them over to our house, and we'll have family dinner here instead.
That's super cool. Yeah, with us, I mean, we're still trying to figure out the same thing. We finally got some sanity back into our schedule allowed over these next couple of months, and so we're getting excited. I think here's maybe something that we've had to realize that in different seasons, it's not a bad thing that you're kind of forced into uh, a season of extreme busyness. And with that, it's about setting up boundaries, and it's about setting up some stopping moments, and trying to have that day and fight for it. But it's about, I think, Chris, you really nailed it on the head. It's about that quality time. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere, and those 90 seconds, they're really powerful and really meaningful in those seasons when you're forced to just go, but you need to stop and you need to rest, even if it's just for 90 seconds, a few times a day, and you're just sitting there listening to the Lord. But in this season, we actually have some things we're talking about, and I think the way that we're going through it is saying, as we build on top of a foundation, the foundation has to be God, and then family, and then the work or whatever we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sabbath is going to be very much a part of that, as far as setting aside a day and saying, okay, this day is for rest, and this day is about, if we're going to do something else, like say Saturday is the day of rest and Sabbath for us, what does Sunday become in this season with all of our little kids and going to churches that nobody knows who we are, and our kids are too much for their staffers because they all need children's ministry people? We're probably going to be working in those churches. We're probably going to be serving with our kids, and that's okay, because Sabbath is Saturday, and it's a day that we're resting, and then Sunday is a day that we're meeting people and we're engaging with people and we're helping other people and ministering in some way. And so we're kind of figuring that out right now too. But I think that's that day is really important to us, of saying it can't just be moments; it needs to be a day, and we need to guard that and protect that.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right, or what do you think?
Yeah. I had to go check on some kids, but I think it looks different every day. Like right now, we kind of have traveled for ministry. Now we're kind of working with some missionaries. Now we're starting our own ministry. Like, everything has taken so many different shapes and forms over the years of us just being in different types of churches, whatever, and then having kids. Yeah, I don't know. I think, like what we had talked about, what Chris had mentioned earlier, we had talked about, was, is this restful or is this not restful for somebody else? And I think just depending on where we've been, learning how that it doesn't always have to be such a moment of like, okay, this has to be a Saturday and it has to look like all day us just resting. It may look different in this season. It may be, hey, we're going to do this as a family because we've not gotten out as a family because we've been doing other things throughout the week. And then there may be some seasons where it's like, no, we just need to stay home and just have a meal and just read scripture. And it looks different. And I guess, just kind of adapting, I guess, just giving God our first fruits with that. So,
Yeah.
depending on what season we're in,
I think the heart of it really is, we haven't really figured it all out yet in practice, but we know it's worth fighting for and trying to figure out.
Well, and not to discredit either, though. Like, I think because life has changed so rapidly over the years for us, though, I don't think it's, oh, we have to figure it out and it has to look exactly this way. I think it looks different, so
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad that we haven't necessarily figured it out. I would say recently, though, we've had a talk of realizing we're not observing the Sabbath at all.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to that. Where maybe a year ago we were doing a really good job of that, but that's what it looked like in that season. And then we realized, wow, we've really gotten away from it. We need to get back to it. But what does it look like right now?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's been interesting.
I think there's a tendency for us all, like in church world, like just the bifurcation, the division of like, okay, this is when I'm spiritual at church, and this is the rest of my life. And especially with families, I would say kids, families, of like Sabbath could be like, you're all going to the lake. You're going to the beach or the lake with the boat or fishing. Like or like, no, we're going camping. We're going camping because you're creating a memory with your family and your people, your kids. And we're supposed to, like, remember, this is generational. We're supposed to be talking about the Bible stories and scripture. Remember, Sabbath, member, it's a remembering and bringing just the conversations about the Lord and how we engage the Holy Spirit. And what do you think about this? When Jesus healed this guy, like with our kids, like, not like, okay, your kids, take out your Bibles. Everyone sit down, quiet. It's like, no, it's in the chaos. It's like around the campfire. It's like we're pushing the Walmart, like, like, okay, everyone, I want kids. I want you guys to pick one person today in the aisle that you're going to pray for. Like, not like you're not going to like, but we're supposed to be figuring out how to lead and activate this all the time. And I think that's, so that would be the permission to be free about the chains of Sabbath. If they feel it's not supposed to be like that, it's supposed to be favor. You bring healing to your family and those around you. It's supposed to be fun. You're remembering and asking for divine strategy, leading, like how you talk about the Lord in natural, flowing, unforced, authentic ways to those around you. Like this is a lifestyle. It's a family. People like us do things like this. This is what we value, and and you're making memories. You're and teaching others. Your friend's cousin's friend and your kids and those around you that come. Like, what do you guys do? Oh, we just come together, and I'm gonna pray a blessing over you all tonight. And it's supposed to be organic.
That's great. Yeah. I'm going to let us go around the room real quick. We're right at time here. And Mallory, we didn't really get to spend time talking about you too much. Normally we do a little introduction of whoever's new on here. Who are you? What do you do? Kind of thing. So let me just start with you and just ask that question and maybe just say, so what do you do? Speak into what you're doing right now to keep God elevated at the highest in work and life, whatever it is. But who are you and what do you do, Mallory?
My name is Mallerie. Um, I'm Jason or Casey's one of Casey's three sisters. I currently am in the middle of trying to open up a bakery. I was just let go from a tech company that I worked for 3 years. I worked in insurance technology for 7 before that. Um, my company basically got bought out by a larger company, and they essentially terminated me without cause was their wording. I was let go, and we have been praying about it, and we really feel like God's leading me to open up this bakery and to make this something that is foremost in what we're doing, and to be a part of whatever ministry Jason and I are called to be a part of, because we really do feel like the Lord is calling him into ministry. So in all of that, we're really trying to make this work. Um, it's terrifying at the moment because my paycheck was the larger of our two paychecks. And I was the one who covered insurance and everything. So now we're less than half of what we were making monthly, and trying to figure out how that works here in the city of Phoenix is very terrifying. So at the moment we're really praying about it. It's a constant everyday praying and giving it over to God and asking him what he has for me and what he wants me to do and the direction that he wants us to go, and asking him to prioritize my day and to show me what he has for me that day. And honestly, it's been crazy to see how my day will start out one way. I have a notebook because I struggle with ADHD, and so I have to literally write everything out in order of how I need to accomplish everything and all of the tasks that I want to get done. Otherwise, I will rabbit trail and find myself in a completely different area of the house than I should be in. So, it's been crazy to see how I've had my list of things that I want to get done and I need to get done, and see God say, nope, that's not what I need you to get done today. And 2 days later, find out it's for a different reason. Like watching the answer for why something got changed happen. So it's been really cool to watch God move and affirm that this is what we're supposed to be doing. Um, for instance, the other day, my KitchenAid, my mixer, the thing that I rely on all for everything, the whole thing was like shaking and wobbling, and like it was crazy, and I was like, I don't know how to fix this. I can't afford to take it somewhere, so I'm gonna try to figure it out. I went on YouTube. I'm searching all the things, and like it's like you have to disassemble the motherboard and like figure out. I was like, oh no, no, but I fixed it. But I had sent a snap to like four different people, only four different people, that like I was like, this is how my morning started, and it was just a picture of the gears of the KitchenAid. Three people texted me and said, hey, what's your address, because I'm going to ship you a KitchenAid. Like three people. And it's people who couldn't afford it and people who wouldn't be able, and it was just another affirmation that like God's got me. There's even if that were to break, three people within 10 minutes were like, nope, nope, we're gonna make this work. And like someone was even like, where's the closest Kohl's? Because I'm gonna buy it so you can pick it up right now. Like it was the sweetest thing. And it's been really cool watching God work and show me that that's where he wants us to go. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
That's
I
amazing.
love that.
That's amazing. Mallory, as we close every episode, what we do is we just say, where can people find you? So with your new business and everything like that, do you have a website yet or anything, or how would
I
people
don't
get
have a I don't have a website. I have an Instagram page, and it's Faith's Kitchen and Confections.
Faith, like Faith?
Yeah, like my middle name, Faith's, plural
Okay,
though.
great. Okay, send me the link and I'll get it on the YouTube as well.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
in there in the bio there. Chris, how about you? Where can people find you?
Either LinkedIn, Chris Rosentrater, or clashcreative.org.
I did notice your LinkedIn. You asked me to be your friend this week, so finally.
Jason, I'm not there often, but it's an easy way to find me. So
I guess I do have a LinkedIn too. I forgot about that.
You
It's
should probably get on the LinkedIn thing, Mallory.
for sure not updated.
I think
But I
Facebook
mean,
and Instagram are probably really good for baking, though, if you're going to do something there. But
yeah,
and yeah, you can find us at the Discord. At the Discord, we just launched it, so please head over to
yeah.
Seven Worship Discord, and you will get beautiful uh, resources after we're done that are going to show little devotionals and run of shows, and you can be part of this conversation as well as we build a community that's focused on Jesus as our highest authority and what we do every week to keep him there, worshiping him. So we can't wait to get to the next week. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just pray and close out this night together. Chris, you want to close us out?
yeah, sure. Father, thank you for this conversation, and I just pray that whatever we said so many things said that whoever hears these words or has heard them already, that you would speak louder than us, and that you would show us the truth about Sabbath, about where we need to rest, where we need to let go, where we need to give up striving, where we need to abide in you. And Lord, bless the end of Psalm 9, the the verse at the end of Psalm 90. Bless the work of our hands, Lord, and show us where not to apply our labor and our striving to where you aren't working. Speak clearly and definitively to us. Show us the small steps that we need to take. Confirm, like Mallerie being confirmed on KitchenAid delivery. Like it would be that clear. Like when we say, Lord, show us where you want us to practice Sabbath and change so that we are resting. Show us how to rest in you. We believe in your word. We believe in this principle, that it's more than a principle, and that your favor and your life, the power of life in the name of Jesus would be released because of our walking towards you in Sabbath, to know you, to relate to you for our good. We just thank you for this. We bless your name. Amen.